Hi, I'm Representative Kim Fawcett, and welcome to Fairfield Our Town. Our Town is a new public access television show, and its goal is to highlight leaders in our community and really help you get to know them better. One of the things I realized when I started this work 6 years ago is that we have some amazing leaders in our town. Not just elected and appointed leaders, but also those people in the community that are involved with our not-for-profits and are volunteering our time. All of them together are working really hard in our community to add to the richness of what Fairfield has become. And my goal and my hope for you in 2012 is that over the next several months and through several different shows, you'll get to know some of the leaders in our community and some of what's going on behind the scenes. And so today, I have a guest with me from Humanity Now, which is a really extraordinary, somewhat new, but somewhat established organization at Fairfield Ludlow Middle School, and I have Rich Haxhi, and Rich is one of the co-founders of Humanity Now with Lenny Moitoso. And Lenny and Rich are sort of the dynamic duo of what was Ludlow Core, and still is Ludlow Core, but then have also morphed into this really amazing organization, Humanity Now.
Yes.
So thank you so much, Rich, for joining me today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And so you two teachers, 10 years ago, had an idea. And tell me a little bit about how this blossomed. Where did this come from?
Well, we teach at Roger Ludlow Middle School, and we teach geography. Lenny and I have taught together for many years, I think 14 or 15 years now. And basically, the Ludlow Core started as an idea that was linked with our curriculum. So basically, everything that we do is really linked to the geography curriculum. So we were studying the geography of the world in our classes with the 7th graders there. And Lenny and I, along with some other teachers, decided to try to make a more realistic opportunity for our students to actually learn about a place, such as Africa or South America or the Middle East, and to have an opportunity to take what they're learning in class, apply it to a real-life project, and walk away with some knowledge that they were able to do something about a particular problem. I think a lot of the geography curriculum, a lot of social studies curriculum as it's taught in our state can be dry, and a lot of students can find it boring. And our efforts have been aimed at trying to allow students to take action. And that's really where the idea originated. So, we were in a particular unit studying Africa and the resource challenges that many African people face in terms of drinking water, in terms of building materials, in terms of energy. And we decided to look on the Peace Corps website. And that was where the idea sort of started. So we were watching MTV one day, and there was this program on with Bono and Chris Tucker, actually, and Lenny had found it, and came into school one day and said, there's this program, we should have the kids watch it, and let's basically turn it into more. So from that point, our discussions led to, well, how can we create a student organization that actually takes action, raises money, raises awareness, and has fun with the curriculum. And the administration at the school has been so supportive every step of the way. They told us to go for it, and Glenn Macno, Karen Eaker, they really deserve so much of the credit because they supported these efforts. At any time they could have said,
I love the fact that you call it Ludlow Core and that the Peace Corps is sort of tied in.
Right.
Do they know, does anybody at the Peace Corps know they get, that you're named after them?
Actually, there might be a few people early on, in the early years, about 10 years ago, before we actually started taking trips, we would raise money, and we donated the money that we raised, that the students raised, we donated the money to actual Peace Corps projects. So we would go on their website, to the Worldwide Schools website, and on there they will have Peace Corps volunteers, the region that they work in, and a particular project that they're trying to raise money for. So it could be a school project, it could be a well project, it could be an irrigation project, and we would print out a list of these and talk about them as teachers with our students, and would say, guys, what are you interested in? What do you guys want to try to do? So we're learning about the complexity of freshwater situation in Africa, how it impacts the food resources, and as a way of trying to incorporate these real life situations into the classroom, we gave the students the opportunity to pick a project. Then we brainstormed ways about how we can raise money, and over the years we've really tried to work with a variety of fundraising ideas, some successful, some more successful, and we've been really happy with the turnout. Over the years we've raised, with Ludlow Corps, just in Roger Ludlow Middle School, we've raised over $300,000.
Wow.
And a good chunk of that was donated directly to the Peace Corps, and we were able to make a lot of change. The students.
So talk a little
positive.
about those original projects. Before you traveled, what were some of the projects the kids chose to raise money for?
Mostly well projects and irrigation projects, and a couple school projects. So for example, there's a community in Africa, in the country of, I want to say Niger, known as Tefarkas, and there was a guy, an American in the Peace Corps, who had listed the project in Tefarkas that was a freshwater project. So there was a community out living in the, basically the southern reaches of the Sahara Desert without fresh water, and they were suffering from a whole host of health issues because of the lack of fresh water. And this is sort of what motivated our students, because they began to see very clearly that there was a relationship between having fresh water, having good health, and then being able to pursue other things like a good education. What a lot of people in the developing world are faced with is, for example, women and children in some communities have to spend a good portion of their day just acquiring water that isn't even clean. Now that cuts down on the amount of time that girls can get an education, that girls can try to improve themselves or learn a skill. What we learned from the Peace Corps was that there are a whole host of projects that people can support that can, that might be focused in fresh water, but can make tremendous improvements in the overall quality of life that a person or a community is able to have. So Tefarkas was one, and there was also a gentleman by the name of Marlon Basil, who was from San Francisco, who went over to Peace Corps in, I want to say Ghana, and he was building a pipeline, an irrigation pipeline, and we funded several $1,000s to Marlon's project. This must have been back 8, 9 years ago. We had never met this gentleman, Marlon.
He must have really been glad to.
He was so
when
glad.
You reached out.
He was so glad that after his Peace Corps project was completed and he came back to the States, he came from San Francisco to Roger Ludlow Middle School to thank the students. He came the following year, and I'll tell you, it was one of the most eye-opening, memorable experiences that I've had in this whole adventure. And Marlon brought videos, he brought pictures, and to this day there's a well and an irrigation pipeline system in this community in Ghana with Roger Ludlow Middle School written on it.
Wow.
And every once in a while we get updates from the Peace Corps people saying what's happened with the money that we've donated over the years. Now at a certain point in time we sort of stopped supporting the Peace Corps because it kind of morphed into the Ludlow Corps, and we started to do this on our own.
Right, and I just have to tell you anecdotally, I think a lot of people know that I went to Nepal on a project several years ago and actually spent just a day in northern India, which is sort of southern Nepal. Right. There's not really a border. Right. And went into a village, and the village was told in advance that we were coming. There was 6 of us. And they sent away all the women and children, and farmers from miles and miles and miles came. There's 50 or 60 farmers packed in a little teeny one-room schoolhouse to talk to us, and the only thing they wanted to talk about was water and irrigation systems. And they thought because Americans were there that we might be able to help. And it was so moving, and I think, like you were explaining, it made tangible for me the struggles that those communities face when they don't have access to fresh water. It's truly astounding.
It is. It's debilitating for a community not to have fresh water. You know, what we've learned on subsequent adventures and travels that we've put together is, you know, just how much fresh water it takes to grow food, just how much fresh water an individual consumes, and some of the health concerns that can arise when people don't get fresh water, and the impact financially that it can have on a family, for example. You know, so if a child gets cholera or excuse me, gets diarrhea from drinking, you know, bad water, what's going to happen is they're going to spend weeks and weeks working to pay for that medical care.
Right.
And the problem is not solved. They still have the poor quality drinking water. Can I get some water?
Yeah.
Thank you. This isn't mine, but yeah, I'll get that one. Do you mind?
No. Here, right here.
Thank you. I know that. It's probably.
I meant to give you one. I grabbed one too.
I've been talking all day. It's not easy.
Yeah, and we can just grab a bottle of water.
Yeah, that's
they can.
a luxury.
Yeah,
yes.
it is
So
a luxury.
to make the point, to illustrate and underscore the point, I needed a drink of water. And you know, in the cases of developing countries, the financial cost is great, and families will repeatedly struggle with the situation where they have to bring their child or their loved one to a hospital. The hospital might be miles and miles and miles away from their village. So, you know, one situation like tainted drinking water can lead to a whole host of other problems that can siphon resources from a community. Yeah. And so that's what we've tried to tackle.
So talk to me a little about, you evolved into finally deciding to go to Africa with a group of kids, and talk about those first trips. Were they only to Africa originally?
Yes.
Okay.
So, you know, the original plan was to raise money and to raise awareness and to make the classes more engaging. That quickly transformed into a situation where, you know, we were wanting to do more. We, as teachers, we were wanting to learn more. You know, we teach geography, and we've had dreams of going to different parts of the world our whole lives. It's kind of what drives us. And we merged our interest in the world with our interest in wanting to help people and to make our classes more engaging. So what we did was we made friends with some African performers from some individuals who have connections in Senegal, West Africa.
Okay.
They were traveling around to different schools here. They actually do PD workshops, professional development workshops, and they come into schools and they do workshops on African culture, drumming and dance. You know, so we had been working with these individuals for a couple of years, and one day they said, "Why don't you guys come to Africa with us?" The gentleman's name was Tony Vaca. He's from Massachusetts, and he's a drummer. You know, he's a percussionist, and he has a band called World Rhythms. In his band are a lot of Senegalese dancers and musicians, one of which is named Massamba Diop. Massamba lives in Dakar, and through an organization, a nonprofit in Massachusetts called Arts Are Essential, we created this trip where we wanted to go do some service work and learn about the culture of Africa. So that's where the original idea, going back maybe 7 years, to bring students came from. You know, we had some friends, we had some connections that can help us on the ground, and from there we went for it. And it was pretty bold, looking back.
To take you in the United States middle schoolers to
you know,
Africa. Pretty
unheard of, really, to take 12-year-olds and 13-year-olds to a place like Senegal. You know, and what we learned while there, and every student who's gone would tell you that although, you know, we went there and we shared resources and we shared our culture with them, our students came away from Africa with just as much learning. Just they've gained just as much as the African children, the Senegalese children might have.
Oh, I'm sure.
And so the trip was really rewarding on so many levels. And we ended up taking 3 trips to Senegal. First, Lenny and myself, we went sort of on a fact-finding.
Oh, you did? You went
adventure.
ahead
We
without
went
the
ahead
kids.
without the
Oh,
kids.
okay, that was probably smart.
Yeah. Mr. Macno, Glenn Macno, kind of made sure that we did this. He didn't want to just go in blind, sending 12-year-olds to West Africa. So Lenny and myself, we went to Dakar. We spent some time. We went into some schools. And one of the first projects that we funded as the Ludlow Corps, who was expanding an elementary school. It was called Yenkel, and we raised a good amount of money, thousands and thousands of dollars, and we went there. We expanded their electrical system. They didn't have lights. You've been in schools in the developing world. You walk into a school and there are maybe 50 kids sitting 3 to a little bench.
Right.
They were all jammed in there, and it was a really eye-opening experience. So part of the first trip was to bring back photos of schools and what the educational experience was like. So it was eye-opening for both sides. We brought pictures of our school, we brought pictures of Fairfield, and we shared this with the individuals in Senegal. And it turned into something really amazing, really big. Students quickly showed an interest in wanting to go.
Right.
And what I found is, I've taught high school, I've taught middle school. Middle school students are very, very energetic and interested in making change. They're up for anything. They're tremendous to teach. And what Lenny Moitoso and I realized is that with a committed group of students, we'd be able to make some of the change that happened that we wanted.
So what are some memories when you look back over the trips that you've had, and funny memories or really profound learning experiences?
Yeah, I think I have a lot of funny, enjoyable memories, but some of the more poignant memories are the situations where children from Fairfield will bond with these children in Ecuador, in the Amazon, in Africa, on the edge of the Sahara, with complete language barriers. They can't speak, they can't say 3 words to each other, but the relationship you see just blossom. And it's what keeps me going back. Also the adults who go on the trip, the parents, because, we require parents to go. The parents and the relationship between, the mom and the dad, or the mom, not the mom and the dad, the children and the parents, that relationship grows. We see it happening, Then we see the relationship between the Ecuadorians and the Americans just open up. It's a tremendous thing. You see kids playing, you see them just be children together, and I love seeing our kids get unplugged a little bit, from all the electronic devices. We go into Amazon, or we go into the Sahel in West Africa, and the kids don't have all these gadgets.
No cell phones, right?
Right. So
that'll be shocking.
They start playing. They start kicking around balls. They have fun. Yeah, it's great.
So as the years went on, I think more recently, you and Lenny decided, let's turn this into something even more.
Yeah.
And you got this idea to create a outside of school, a not-for-profit, and
Correct.
you've called it Humanity Now.
Yeah.
And actually on the television screen, we're going to put your website.
Oh, cool. Great.
So people can go and check it out. And the website is so extraordinary.
Yeah,
so I highly recommend, for anybody that is seeing the show, to check out the website, because you really get a sense of the communities that you're reaching, and the pictures are beautiful, and the website is just so easy to navigate. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So talk a little bit about how you went through the decision making to grow this organization.
Sure. Yeah. As the trips with Ludlow Corps began to happen, parents in Roger Ludlow Middle School said, I wish this opportunity was available in other schools. I wish, parents in Tomlinson or Woods had these opportunities. I wish high school had these opportunities. So Lenny and I got together and we began to talk about some of the limitations that our program had. We couldn't take students from other schools in Fairfield. So we tried to come up with a way that we could solve that problem, to open it up to other students. So what we're really doing is we've created this organization called Humanity Now, which is a 501c3. It's a non-for-profit.
And tell me again, what's the mission statement? Because it's great.
The mission is to allow students to help make change in the world by helping other students. So it's really an organization that's geared towards students and teachers like myself and the students that I have. And what Humanity Now offers is projects around the world with curriculum materials and fundraising ideas. So essentially, it's a one-stop place where a teacher could go or a student can go and find a project, get some fundraising ideas and curriculum connections that will tie it all together. So that's the essence of Humanity Now. It's about building bridges between students.
And that theme, that mission of helping students change the world, just strikes a chord with me because I love that vision. And talk to me a little bit about the outreach that you've been doing, because you have had some success in sharing Humanity Now with other communities.
Yeah. It's it's slow going, but what we're trying to do is expose other teachers in other districts and other students to what Humanity Now has to offer. And we've had some success, and for example, there's a school up in Waterbury, the Waterbury Arts Magnet School, which is aware of what we're doing and has signed on to take a project. And also there's a synagogue in Hamden that has funded one of our projects. And the other middle schools in Fairfield are also trying to put together Humanity Now clubs. We've had success in both of the local high schools, Ward and Ludlow High School, where there are currently Humanity Now clubs that meet regularly, and they're organizing fundraising activities. And basically what they've done is they've gone to the Humanity Now website, they've picked a project that they want to sponsor, just like we did many, many years ago with the Peace Corps, and now they're funding it. And we have projects in 3 continents, South America, Africa, and then Asia, and many, many countries. We have water projects, health projects. And
how do you find these projects? Are they projects that you all found, or through Peace Corps?
It's a great question. We go through a process of sort of verifying the projects to make sure that they're legitimate, and all of the projects that we currently have available are projects that either we've been to directly, or that we are very, very comfortable with the NGOs that work them, that run them. So, for example, we work closely with an organization in Georgia called MAP International. It's a non-for-profit who has ground operations in many, many places around the world. It's similar to the Peace Corps, but its focus is health. So, MAP International will feed us projects, and our niche is going to be and is to make the connection between these projects and school settings.
Wow, that's fantastic.
So,
I didn't realize that connection piece when we were talking about Humanity Now before. And it's so great to hear, because I know often I interact with people who want to volunteer, they want to do something or to contribute, even here in our local community, and it's amazing to me how many people don't know how to connect. And that's sort of what you're doing through the schools and through the kids, is you're creating the platform for them to connect. And it's like a really critical piece.
Giving them a little key. And another interesting thing, now that you mentioned it, about Humanity Now, is it doesn't have to be a classroom teacher or a classroom to take on a project. It could be faith-based organizations, it could be individuals who just want to do something positive, help somebody out. We also collaborate with a group called Starfish International in Gambia, Africa.
Oh, wow.
And that's another one of our non-for-profits that we get projects from. So I just thought I should mention that.
And so what's the vision now that you've established a Humanity Now? It's obviously based here in Fairfield. We're very proud of you. But what's the vision for the next 5 years?
The vision is a lot more hard work, keeping up teaching and teaching about the curriculum connections and working with my 7th graders, and trying to get the idea of Humanity Now out into other schools, into other districts, and to get it out of Fairfield, because as generous and as amazing as Fairfield is, we want it to grow, and we want it to be in Massachusetts, and we want it to be in Florida, and we want,
Yeah.
you know, there's no end to the need in terms of what people can use in the developing world. You know, there's no end to the need. So we feel like the more schools sign on, adopt projects, more learning is going to occur in our classrooms, and the bigger the difference we can make.
It's also so important to make sure that our kids, not just our kids in Fairfield, but our kids in America, have this opportunity to become citizens of the world,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
the world is flat, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we all know the book from a decade or so ago, but I mean, our kids are growing up into a world where you really have to appreciate and understand and accept cultural
Yeah.
differences in a way that was very different when even I was
Right.
growing up, and I'm pretty young,
Right.
but
Right.
so it's just such a great opportunity, humanity now, to,
Yeah.
to reach schools and reach kids.
Yeah. Thank you. That's the goal.
do. So this will be airing in April when we're
Excellent.
filming it, obviously, before we leave, but you have a project upcoming to Ecuador, and
Yes.
I'm lucky enough to
Yes.
be one of the parents.
Yes, you are.
My 8th grader is going with you. Thank you, by the way,
Oh.
for selecting her. We
Thank
couldn't
you.
be more thrilled.
Thank you.
And so can we talk a little bit about what the Ecuador trip is going to be like, how the days are going to be for the kids and the
Yeah,
curriculum,
yeah.
so that people get a sense of really what you're sharing with the
Yeah.
kids when we're there.
So we have a great program put together for April, and like I said earlier, it's totally based on our curriculum. It's interdisciplinary, and the students, so we're going to be spending a lot of time in the Andes Mountains. So geographically, the students will be up in the mountains at high elevations, checking out Quito, checking out various cities and villages in the mountains, and learning about the effects and the issues that they face, the effects that the high altitude will have on people. We're going to visit some thermal springs. Then we're going to descend into the Amazon, and that's where our service projects are going to be located. We have 2 planned, and the students and parents in our group are going to go to a place called Angote, which is on the the eastern side of the Andes, going down into the Amazon basin, and they have freshwater and nutrition issues. We also work with a community there called Tambayacu, and they also have freshwater issues and health issues. So the students there will be basically spending a lot of time doing some community service there, maybe painting a building, installing water filters into people's homes, and also there's going to be time set aside for what we're calling a day in the life of. So our students will actually be paired up with some Ecuadorian children, and just learn what they do every day. Like, what do they do during the course of a day? How do they live their lives? What do they do when they wake up? What chores do they have? What games do they play? And then after that, we're going to go to the Galapagos, where, again, the time is going to be spent learning about curriculum and learning about the physical systems, the atmosphere, the hydrosphere, the way the currents affect this very special place on the earth, and learning about Darwin and making science connections. They're going to be doing writing. So it's a very valuable, rich experience.
And I'm really hoping that when I get back, we'll have some of the kids come on and talk about their experiences. I certainly want to somehow document in video what the kids learn. And I don't know if you noticed at the meeting, but I was one of the moms that said I wanted to follow a mom for a day in the village, because I just think that would be extraordinary.
Sure.
But I can't thank you enough for joining me today and for sharing, all that you've done for the kids here in Fairfield. It's really extraordinary. The past 10 years, I just have to put my own little plug, which is that I am amazed each year as my children meet new teachers, that we have these teachers in Fairfield that go above and beyond. And you and Lenny are certainly 2 of those people, and I meet them every year. And just thank you for the work you're doing for our kids, and I just can't wait to share more about it.
Thank you for kind words. Fairfield's a great place to work. Very special people. So I'm happy to be here.